Alrighty. Hi, everybody. This is the walkthrough video for Friday. It is May 9th in Try 3 Week 11, and we're finding page 45. Do you remember all those times that some teacher asked you about habitat? What are the three big features of habitat? Do you remember? Shelter, water, and food. Yep. And keep in mind that shelter might be different for different living things and at different times of their life cycle. For example, cicadas need the shelter of trees when they are doing the things that they do as adults, but as little underground grubs, they need underground environments. So today we're going to think about finishing that design thinking worksheet because biodiversity really matters and we're thinking about protecting it. Just a reminder about missing and late work. We did a little bit of that today. The last call is next Friday at 2:40 p.m. No new papers today. We're still going to work through this design thinking assignment. So where have we been? As you might remember, work from last class, we're in this generating concept phase. And we spent some time drawing some concept sketches or C sketches as design folk think about them to help solve a problem. Now, your problem is not going to be a piece of technology, probably like a monitor, eyeball monitor, or a hand device or a computer mouse. It's much more likely that you're going to be building a policy or program. Design thinking still applies. It also applies if you're making a new phone case or a new type of pen ink or a waiting room for a doctor's office. Design thinking about making things functional and beautiful is a really important part of lots of different jobs and of living a full life, I think. So on today's assignment, you have this part, and if you fold your paper, you'll be able to see this too. I'll show you that in a minute. But the next part of the assignment is to fill out the decision matrix using what you sketched yesterday for A, B, and C. That video is going to be up in a moment, so you can go see it on Canvas. And I just wanted to say for A, B, and C, you're going to score your invention based, it says technology, but it could be a policy or program, thinking about how well it protects biodiversity, whether or not it makes bigger islands or closer together islands. And islands is in quotes. We're obviously not flooding Bloomington. We're instead thinking about this idea of habitat islands. The cost of your technology, I'll leave what you think is high and low cost up to you. Does it scale well? Like, honestly, is the thing we're going to build for biodiversity in Indiana going to help the Antarctic Ocean? No, it is not. That's a very different ecosystem. But there are lots of places in the US, in Europe, and in other continents that have features like Bloomington and farmland and Indianapolis, right? And so maybe you can expand your ideas to other places. If you've ever been to like downtown cities, there's not always a lot of lawn. So the idea about building habitats in lawns and apartment buildings, yards might not work there, but it might work in lots of places that are more suburban or like Bloomington are small cities where lots and lots of people have a yard and lots of apartment complexes that aren't on College or Walnut have access to green space. So today, you're going to keep moving through the design thinking assignment. If you write down a lot of information, you're going to be in great shape for next week, even if your idea changes between now and then. You're going to, like the front of the page says here, select an idea and circle it. You can also remix some ideas from your decision matrix, and then you're going to answer the questions that follow, and you're going to start with describing your solution and really specifically that it's going to do island biogeography. You have to explain how it's going to make the islands bigger or make the islands closer together by making more of them. Here are some possible design solutions. So we talked about forest corridors or wetland corridors through farmland. We talked about lower pesticide farming. I'll show you an example that you cannot use because it's not about land use, and that's part of what we're doing here. Wildlife habitat gardens for homes and apartments, no mow areas in parks, or not mowing until after a certain time of the spring to help make it so that there is hibernation habitat for animals like insects. And then pollution control. People are always interested in like projects that like pick up litter. They feel easy for you because you've done some thinking about that previously. You really are going to have to get more specific for that to be a good project here just because of the design matrix. And remember, land bridges like the ones we saw yesterday are a good idea, but that's only when you already have high quality existing habitat that you need to link over a road. We saw that in Indiana, that's not the lay of the land, right? We have big urbanized areas, we have a lot of farmland, and those types of solutions are more for other settings, although they're really important, right? LA and Southern California is building one right now. That didn't help. Here's a solution you can't use, even though it's about island biogeography. So the companies Misfit Foods and Imperfect Foods, they ended up merging. And one of the things that they do is that it's not just produce that might be different, right? Like this potato or these carrots. It's also produce that might be discolorated or that might be too big or too small. This is why farmers use pesticides. They use pesticides to make it so there aren't any insect nibbles. There aren't any places where the shape is different because of insect predation. And they try to make it so that their materials are big every time, right? So like, would you buy really small? These are lettuces. It's an endive. Would you buy a really small endive? I would. And so this company helps people connect with those ideas. And if you can buy things that are imperfect, farmers can reduce the load of pesticides, feeling confident that they'll be able to sell it at market. So we did a modified week in review. Please pause the video after I read this. In the cool down spot, you're going to define the theory of island biogeography. You're going to say island biogeography says, or the theory of island biogeography is, and then hint, biodiversity, larger, closer. But you have to make your sentence make sense. I defined it earlier, I think, so you can go back and look at that. The big concepts or terms, you need 3 ways you can support biodiversity using the theory of island biogeography. You can just take them off this list, pick 3 of them, and put them in that like little strip about big concepts or terms. And then in the week in review, you're going to describe your policy in writing. It doesn't have to be the final one you go with next week, but it does have to be one of these policies. All right, someone's at the door, so that's it for me. Take care out there. I'll see you soon.